Hey, everybody, and welcome into the Bears Den presented by War Media and Sports Zone Chicago. I am Saul Rodriguez, joined as always by our lead Bears reporter, Shawn Sierra. How are we doing, Shawn?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. I'm fired up. Bear game tonight. Fired up. Let me tell you. I don't know if I mentioned I'm fired up.
I know, even if, and we'll get to it, but no starters tonight. But
Don't
even
matter.
then,
Bears
dude,
football, baby. Bears football.
Bears football Thursday night against Mahomes and the Chiefs. We'll know. Mahomes, are the Chiefs? They're gonna have Mahomes playing any snaps?
No.
Okay, makes sense. Either makes sense. I mean, they don't. They can play. They could keep Mahomes off the field until October and somehow still make it to the Super Bowl.
Playoffs.
So
yeah,
it doesn't matter. So, but I'm fired up too, man. It's awesome to see. So like, it's one of those things. You get into like August, September, and you just like start to feel you get those fantasy drafts already. Like it's just like are you a big on fantasy, Shawn? You get
no,
like
I'm not. But I have tons of friends and they're posted all up and down my timeline. Hey, who wants to join fantasy? Who wants to join fantasy? We're doing it here. We're doing it at this bar. We're doing it at that bar. Some of my friends go to Vegas and have their draft. It's out of control. Out of control.
No, yeah, some people get intense. Like I'm talking people like rent out, whole, rooms out at Buffalo Wild Wings and all this stuff. And I haven't had one of those things yet. Most of I'm in 3 leagues, but all those guys are chill. Like we just do it online. Granted, also it's a little harder to do it because they're in all over the country. But it's fun. But I'm getting ready to. I'm hoping in one of those drafts I get DJ Moore. That's all I'm saying. Because I just want, I got to get a bear. And if it's a bear, I think it would be DJ Moore, but we'll see. But anyways, we'll get into, Bears football tonight and all that stuff. But I did want to talk about first and foremost, before we get into the Hard Knocks episode is the Bears taking down the Bengals in game 3 of the preseason. And, with Caleb Williams, he played, he had 13 attempts in that game, had 75 yards. And the thing I noticed most about that is that he started off slow, right? Like it was not an easy game whatsoever. And I kind of, it was kind of a good thing. I feel like I was like, you know what? Hey, he's struggling. Let's see how he bounces back from this. And he can't, and they let him play a little longer than I think a lot of people expected him to play. He played well into the second quarter.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to ask you, what did you think about that? Obviously, we saw all the crazy throws and all that stuff, and we get it. Like, at the end of the day, it's just preseason. But what did you think about Caleb Williams' performance against the Bengals?
Thought it was good. I thought he looked really good. I thought he looked really good. There were a lot of he took control of the offense, and he seems to have a pretty good grasp of it. The scripted, the on platform throws were good. Well, they started off the first couple. He had a couple drops that weren't his fault. Another one but after that, he looked good, man. He looked really good. He looked. I love his playmaking ability. I love he's got a little gun. He looked good. There's a lot that he's done right, and that's what I'm happy about. I'm extremely happy. You come in, he's let's not get it twisted. He's been in the system since before he was drafted, right? So he's had access to the system thanks to his quarterback coach, who's really good friends with Shane Waldron. So, and this is under their own admission that he's been in this. So this is good. He had a lot. And, one thing that I did like about him is that he didn't get down after those 3 and outs. It could be very easy for you to kind of be like, oh man, we got to go back out there again. But he didn't do that. He took it as another opportunity to score and get down the field, and he did. He did really well. So his mindset is right. His talent, you can see it, but that's never been in question. We just hadn't seen it, up close and personal, and we did. And man, it looks great. It looks great. So he looked really good, and especially some things up, and especially after he gets more comfortable in this offense, man, the sky's the limit. Sky's the limit with this guy.
Yeah, you're right too. That you make a good point. It's like we know how good he is. It's just all about executing, right? It's like and even now in the preseason, it's like sure we were seeing seeing him make these great plays, but at the end of the day, it's can he do it in the regular season? Can he do it against the Lions? Can he do it against the Packers? Those are the questions he still has to answer. But what we've seen so far, it looks pretty good. And it was cool.
don't forget, so like these are all bland defenses. Like they're not coming with disguised coverages and blitz and stunts and twists and all the other stuff. These are pretty bland. In preseason, the coordinators don't really show you what they got. Even if it's stuff that's been on film before, they still tend not to run it. So those things are very bland. You know, you're not rolling from one, a single high safety to two high or vice versa, stuff like that. So, now when the games count after tonight, now you're going to start to see a little more trickery from DC.
Exactly.
So his ability, he's going to have to be able to pick those up and make the proper decisions, moving forward at that point.
Yeah, and then you look at guys, like also like Rome Odunze too, that he was on the other end of that crazy, throw that Caleb had, and on the left side of the field. What did you think about his performance and just kind of, him learning from his mistakes? Because obviously, he had that one where he could have, if he would have kept his left foot in, it would have been a nice touchdown there. How do you feel about his performance and just kind of him kind of learning a little bit? Because I feel like those are the type of things you want to see in preseason, right? You want to see a guy make a mistake and then be like, you know what, learn from it, because in the regular season, it's not something you want to do. And obviously from what we've seen so far, I feel like it's been a lot of positive from Rome.
I think he's going to be a stud, man.
Yeah.
And it's just, and first of all, in his defense, they screwed up the whole back of the end zone. Usually it's whited out, but it was one line and then there was another line. And it was confusing for people at home. So I could see it possibly being confusing for the players, especially a rookie. He's a rookie. I'll give him, I'll give him some slack. But this dude has it all, man. He has it all. It couldn't have been a better selection for the Bears. I know everyone wanted Marvin Harrison Jr. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. still has a chance to be the best player in this draft. But man, Rome Odunze fits, man. He fits well. And it's not just, the thing about it is not just the talent, it's his personality, it's his mindset, and I think he's a perfect. He relishes the fact that he gets to play underneath, or actually next to, but kind of study DJ Moore and Keenan Allen as a rookie. You know what I mean? So you can't get too many better mentors, so to speak. Coming out of college, so. When his numbers call, he'll be there. And you're right. I'd rather have it happen in the preseason, him stepping out of bounds and things like that. We want to give him his first tutty, though. And so he's probably not going to play tonight. That's okay. But when he gets his first tutty, I'll be really happy for him. And I know the whole team is going to be ecstatic for him because he should have had 2 touchdowns so far this preseason. But, it's a work in progress. He's learning. And trust me, he's going to have a lot of touchdowns when it's all said and done.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all positives, and like I said, the preseason doesn't matter, but it's nice to see at least these teams, it's getting some wins and just like looking good. So let's look at some clips from the starters here against the Bengals. Let's take a look.
Roll out Woodside. That is a tough arm angle to try to find a receiver in Kwame Lassiter, but that is a familiar sight. The hard hit of Kyler Gordon.
By Kyler Gordon, good open field tackle.
It always helps when Montez Sweat is getting into the face of a quarterback as he did there. On second down. Pressure, Gordon! Wow. Off the edge! DB blitz, shooting the webs and getting the sack. It's third down.
Yeah, you got to see it as a quarterback. You've got 5, they're bringing 6, meaning the Bears.
Second and 5, pressure coming, that ball is firing, it is picked off! Josh Blackwell with a big-time hit, and right on cue, Amen Ogbong Mamiga with the interception. Williams and the starters, so they're going to keep him out there and go with a little bit of trickery with Rome Odunze. And there he goes, off the little end around.
This is a big-time weapon who can go downtown. And again, he's got punt return ability, whether they use him, but this is the reason.
The man to the offense, check to the run, and Herbert makes a good move to get to the other side of the field. Out near midfield, 2nd and 10. This is a shot position here from the 48. He's looking downfield, nothing there. Spins away, throws on the move. It is caught! Rome Odunze.
He just bails out of the pocket here, and this is the toughest throw you can do. Throw it to your left,
away from the arm side, right?
And he does it.
That is in the bucket, off platform, away from the arm side. That's the type of stuff at USC that was dropping jaws of scouts across the country.
And he does it effortlessly. And he's done it so many times where it's just commonplace.
Yeah, you know what we didn't even mention too is the defense too is the way that they've been playing even in the preseason. Like we saw that in one of those clips of Kyler Gordon sack. So it's like they're playing well on all sides of the ball, and even kind of transitioning a little bit to the Hard Knocks segment part is just that even Caleb Williams, they asked him they asked him kind of like what he's noticed about the preseason or just professional football, and he's saying that practice is harder, and it shows, right? It's like, it's one of those things where it's, one, the Bears defense is obviously, as we know, really good. And two, in practice, I can only imagine the type of schemes they're running to give them these challenges. And when you go into a preseason game, it's obviously, as you mentioned with the bland defenses, it's not, at all a challenge. But what do you think? What have you thought about the defense? And even like, guys they keep talking about, especially in like, for example, like Hard Knocks too, they keep talking about, Booker and just how good he's looked. What have you thought about the defense, and what did you think about them getting some more turnovers against the Bengals?
The defense has this attitude about them that they have a lot of, it's tiptoeing, sometimes even steps over the line of arrogance. They're feeling themselves, and they should. They're top 2 defense, and they probably not number 2. All right, the last six games of the year last year, they're the number 1 defense in the NFL, and this is with Montez Sweat only being there for a handful of games. All right, now that he's settled, he's got a house, or he knows where he's living, his family's settled, he knows that the easiest way to get to practice, and just being settled. People don't understand how important that is when you're kind of discombobulated because you move to a new spot. He's settled in, that he's ready to go. The Jalen Johnson, my goodness, he gets that big money, right? And the tendency for people is to exhale and to chill. He's not chilling. He's using those slights that he didn't make first team All-Pro. All right, he's using that as motivation. And then the top 100 players, where he was left off that completely, even as a second team All-Pro, he's using that as fuel. Jalen Johnson is literally turning it. He is a shutdown corner, and watching him and the attitude and the swag and the confidence that they have is exciting, man. The hair on my arm just talking about it. They don't throw anything. That is definitely the no-fly zone. All right, that is definitely the no-fly zone. Jaquan Brisker is back finally, from his injuries. And man, I am super, super excited. Gervon Dexter's looking good. I want to see more from him. All right. Billings is still stuff in the middle. Sweat's getting double teamed. Booker, all right. Booker, the berserker, as he calls him. He's looking good. And I know he didn't get any sacks off any first team offensive tackles, and that's okay. That's okay. He's going to get sacks and pressures off the second team tackles. And now he's got to just up his game. I'm loving his defense. It's very reminiscent of the one back with Urlacher Briggs. If they continue to play at this level, they'll be on that level of the Urlacher and Briggs defenses back in the day. But they're getting after it, man. It is, as a former defensive coordinator, I get excited, and I'm a running back by trade for my whole career. But coaching defense, being a defensive coordinator, I love the way they fly to the ball. I love the Kyler Gordon, the play in the flat. All right, I'll talk about the sack in a second, but the play in the flat where he hits might have been running back with a wide receiver in the flat, and he's coming downhill big time, and no yards after the catch. He drops him there. And then the sack, the corner sack, he comes off and just literally puts his face mask in the quarterback's chest. Like, that gave me chills down my spine, because to see that type of thing happen, I love it. So this defense understands they're probably going to have to carry the load for a few games until this offense gets in rhythm. And I think they're more than ready, willing, and able to do that.
Yeah, 100%. And then you just look at the young guys. I mean, you look at Tyreek Stevenson coming into his zone. Obviously, we saw how good he was last year. And just kind of like the confidence, as you say, it's like the confidence, I feel like, is just like reciprocating with everyone. It's like everyone's, getting more and more confident. Yeah.
The whole defense, bro. Look at Terrell Smith. He got a pick. Yep. You know what I mean? It's contagious, man. And I am fired up about it, man. I am so excited, dude. Dude, the hair keeps standing up on my arms thinking about how crazy the defense is, man. It's amazing.
And it's funny too is that and like I said, they've been focusing and talking about Austin Booker in Hard Knocks, and it's like a guy like that being implemented into a defense like this. It's just like you said with Roma Dunze. It's like he's it's like literally the school of Hard Knocks for him when it comes to the defense, right? It's like he's getting advice from some of the best players in the game, and like guys like Montez Sweat and all those, and it's just like it's just as elite as it gets. And you know what? He also, kind of affected the way that the Bears went around with, they ended up not getting Matthew Judon, but he kind of had an impact. They talked about it on Hard Knocks, and we'll take a look at a clip where Ryan Poles is talking about Matthew Judon, the type of impact he would have on the Bears and all that. Of course, he ended up going to the Falcons, but we'll take a look. Here we go.
Patriots edge rusher Matthew Judon is on the market, and Poles is working hard to make a trade.
So we did a Judon conversation today. He only played 4 games. He had a bicep. So just from an analytics standpoint, kind of where he's at. So just wins at it. He's 50th among defensive ends. To put in perspective, Sweat's 14th. We believe he would help us get better. Just his style, we think having a bicep rather than like a lower body injury, he still would play to the same intensity and explosion as we did before. It does come with risk though at 32.
He's got some things working, huh?
Yeah.
Think we'll get it over the finish line?
I do.
Yeah.
Our language is basically saying if the contract's not signed, then he reverts back to New England. Gotcha. Cover, so.
What do we get?
It'd be 3. So all that would happen fast.
Yeah, okay. Just keep it posted.
Okay.
All right, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Poles has met New England's asking price of a 3rd-round pick. But unless Judon agrees to a contract extension with the Bears, Chicago won't make the deal.
Yeah, and we talked about it before, man. Like those are some of my favorite parts of those shows. It's just like seeing the inside and and we talked about it with the Giants, their Hard Knocks and how they might never do it again because of how much intel they gave up. But like it's just seeing the intricacies of the front office and the way that Ryan Poles handled this stuff. It makes that also gets me fired up, honestly. Like just seeing how he handles it and how he goes through it. It makes me put a lot more trust in him because he obviously, as you can tell, very calculated. He talks about, how many wins, Judon would have added and all that, but he's also thinking about the other players they have, like I said, with Booker, and he's also thinking about, the long-term thing. And it's one of those things that I feel like in sports is actually not that common in any sport where like you think about, the type of GM that he is like, you know what, we're going to make a trade for you, but we also want you to sign an extension. We don't want it to be a rental. And I feel like that's such an important part. And I feel like more GMs should take note of that because especially in like other sports, even in like basketball, baseball, there's a lot of trade deadline deals where it's like just a rental and you give up like a king's ransom for it. So it's like, a lot of teams should maybe look into that. Maybe that's something that, other teams should do is not only get a player and have it be a rental, but also look to extend him. But what did you think about that process and him even giving like some insights to Kevin Warren and kind of like talking that through with him? Because there were some people that were like saying like, is he trying to okay this by Warren? Like, what's this about? Like, no, I think it looks just more like, hey, he's just trying to fill him in, keep him updated with what's going on. But yeah, what'd you think about that whole segment in Hard Knocks?
Well, Kevin's his boss.
Yeah.
All right. And Kevin gives him the green light to do whatever he wants, but out of respect for your boss, like, here's what I'm doing.
Exactly.
All right. Here's what I'm doing. And but he's also, Warren, Poles has also said, like, he wants input. All right. He thinks his way. All right. But he's got Ian Cunningham, who's the assistant general manager, and then Kevin Warren. He wants to run it by those guys. Those are football guys. All right. Here's what I'm thinking. Let me get 2 other football minds, okay, to mull it over. And I think it's just in the situation like that. I think it's just great communication, and I think it's great collaboration from those two, from those 3 really. But in the clip, it was those 2. Just keeping them abreast and saying, hey, what do you think? You're a good mind, and we make this decision together. I know it's my call, but your input is vital, and I think that's great. And To me, that was really exciting because I've seen, with my experience playing and coaching football, a lot of the other stuff, it's, I've seen it. I've seen great passes, great catches, great this, great that. It's cool. What I haven't seen is the behind the scene, all right, dealings, those activities. And that's what got me excited when they were talking and they were going through the whole thing about Judon, and he's 32 and he's, it wasn't a lower body injury, so he should be good coming off the edge and still explosive, and even despite his age and all the things that he's gone through. I think that was great. They show more stuff like that, not a lot, but just more things like that. Man, dude, I know some people might find it boring or monotonous, but a lot of other people, like myself, who've never been behind closed doors making those decisions or seen those decisions being made, to me, that's great stuff right there for me.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then also just seeing the behind the scenes of the trade to the from the Bills to get Austin Booker, I think was also pretty cool to see, because it's just, it's crazy because, I feel like without seeing that, you're like, man, it must be so professional. I don't know how they do the trade, blah, blah, blah. And no, it's as simple as picking up a phone and saying, hey, I'm going to give you this third pick or whatever it is. Like, are you down, basically? And it's just as simple as that. And they do it and so swiftly, and they have so many guys on the phone in the trade room and all that. And it's just like in the draft room, and it's just it's awesome to see. But one thing too, I wanted to talk to you about was what do you think about their focus on Tyson Bagent and his family, and just kind of, we knew this is going to be a big part of Hard Knocks, is them talking about Tyson Bagent, his dad, who's just is the actual definition of a character. Like, there's no other way to put it. Like, to keep it as subtle as possible. Like, he's just goofy and just like world champion, arm wrestler, all that. But what do you think about that? Because I feel like from the football side, a lot of people like what they've been saying about Tyson Bagent. And I've even seen like some articles talking about like, would the team trade for him because they want him to start for him or whatever. What do you think about that? And just kind of like kind of a little bit of the hype that QB2 gets in here in Hard Knocks episode 3.
I like Tyson Bagent. His resume, people might not understand why he's so good. All right. And Jimmy Johnson had a formula, and I'll paraphrase it really. If you're not at the 1A level, all right, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, USC, and you're at a lower level, first of all, you better dominate. All right, you have to dominate. And oh my God, did he dominate? And then how many years did he dominate? Well, this guy threw more passes, more touchdowns than anybody in the history of the NCAA. All right, he's had 2,000 dropbacks. You mean to tell me there's not a lot he hasn't seen in dropping him back 2,000 times? Even if it is at a lower level, because trust me, football is good. It's just the athletes. Mm-hmm. All right, the teams are just the same in 1AA and in Division II, where he played Division III. It's just the athletes that you have to deal with. So he's probably seen just about all types of coverages and disguises. All right, and you know what it is? He's comfortable now. He's set. Just like I was talking about Montez Sweat earlier. All right, same thing with him. He's comfortable. He's comfortable in Chicagoland area. He's got a house where he lives. He knows everything. And you saw the two touchdown passes he had. I mean, he just looked so relaxed. Like, there's no happy feet, no nothing. I mean, it was literally doing what he's doing for the last 6, 7, or 10 years. And I love that with him. I love the fact that they went in depth with him. His family is his dad. It's a character, and that's awesome. And that's what they want, and his dad is awesome. His dad is very passionate and proud of his son. And it was cool. That's what they do. You got to go into different storylines and different players. And, but man, I love how confident Tyson Bagent is. I mean, his talent is there. His talent is there. It's not even a question. I mean, hell, the guy's won 2 games in the NFL. All right. He's already won 2 games. All right. Last year, he's 2-2. So, if anyone has any questions about him, whether he should be the backup, you're nuts, because this dude's already won in the league. And he won games before Montez Sweat got there. All right. So let's not get that twisted. So I love it. He seems like a great kid, great young man. And I just love when they go in and they find they find characters, when they go down a storyline. That's awesome. I'm happy for him and his family. He's dope.
Yeah, and yeah, he went 7 for 8, 87 yards, 2 TDs, as you said. And then another guy too that they talked about in the in Hard Knocks episode 3 was Tory Taylor. They followed him going to the game and all that, getting to the game and all that, and kind of him talking to Caleb Williams as well. And yeah, he's one of those guys that hasn't really been talked about that much in these few episodes, but he's going to be a really important part, as you can tell from that episode, of just like the way they talk about him, and he's going to be really important to this team because, as they say, even he said, right, it's like if they asked him about if he wants a nickname, if you like a crocodile punter, he said no, he doesn't want anything ties to Australia. And he's like, he said, hey, if they don't know who he is, it's a good thing. And it's true. It's kind of like referees in sports. If you know their name, it's a problem. Because that means they're yeah, exactly. Like if you know an umpire's name or whatever, that's a problem because they know he's giving some people some trouble. So with Taylor as well, he wants to be kind of invisible and just like just go out there, do his job, and not have to do it that often. And as much as like he said that Caleb texted him saying you're not going to be punting a lot this year, and then he went out there and punted a few times in the first half, and it was funny, like kind of telling him, hey, I thought I wasn't going to punt this year, but it was funny to see. But what do you think about that storyline and kind of how that translates into the regular season of how important a guy like Taylor is going to be?
First of all, I didn't think they're going to. I'm surprised that they went down that road and he was the spotlight. I was really surprised. But he's a weapon. He's a weapon, and I'm okay with him punting a lot in the preseason. I am. People want to say, well, I want to see the offense go down and score. So do I. I said, but you also got to get this guy. Practice is one thing, right? Getting the ball to bounce out of bounds inside the 5 in practice is one thing. But when you're in front of 60,000, all right, or you're on the road, like I need it done there. And see him do it in the game. I mean, I'm happy he was punting. I want him to get the reps. I want him to get the experience of doing it in front of punting in key situations or when you're backed up. Man, he had a boom when he was kicking out of the end zone. It was like 65 yards in the air. So I'm okay with him punting in the preseason games. The amount of times he punted, I want him to punt even more. Just get as many game time reps as possible, right? Because if things go well, he probably won't be punting. But you know what? All this work in the preseason, that's what it's for. That's what it's for. And this kid is a true talent. I'm telling you. I had a punter who did the same thing that this guy did. But this was back in 06, 07. And I'm telling you, the first time I was warming up and jogging around the field, and I was just kind of watching him out of the corner of my eye. I had my music on, when getting in the zone. And this dude, I'm like, let me see, because I had heard about him, before we got him. And he kicks the ball. He was kicking like from the minus 40, all right. And the first one hit like right around the 5, and it was coming on an angle of the 5 and 90 degrees right to the sideline. Like, oh snap! All right, do it again. And he did it again to the left side. I'm like, oh snap! And then another time, the second time I was jogging around the field, he hit it, and it came down. It bounced at the 3, bounced straight up, and it just landed right at the 3 where it bounced the first time. I'm like, how the freak did you do that, dude? So I understand how important that is, your ability to make it go out of bounds, literally like a 90-degree angle. And I think that's going to be unbelievably huge for this team because it's going to flip field position. And then with this defense, you get a 3-and-out from this defense, you get a decent return. Now you're starting inside the 50, and now you're in scoring position. So he's a huge weapon on how and we know special teams do. Some guy named Devin, what was his name? Something or other. He was pretty good in special teams. So, we understand that game, and it's good to see Poles address that and get the best punter in coming out of college, and a guy who can do what he does. It's gonna be actually be fun watching the Bears punt, believe it or not.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one thing too, is like people don't think about how fun it's going to be to see that. If as you say, hopefully it's not a lot, but just when that does happen, when you have an elite guy like that, just elite leg, I think is so important. But another thing too that happened in the episode was they kind of talked a little bit about the joint practice they had with the Bengals this week, and just how it got and how guys were getting along, and it was funny to see, like, Matt Eberflus talking about hey, if there's any fighting, like you're gonna be sent back and gonna be doing like basically running and all that stuff like with the other guys. So, but we have a clip here to kind of show you a little bit of what happened in that practice. Oh, my fault. Yeah, that was Bears versus Bears, but we got to see some good action there, and hey, you love to see some fire between those guys, anyways, right? It's like a lot of people might see that and think to themselves, a lot of casuals might think, hey, why are the teams fighting with each other? Like, those guys are supposed to be teammates. But we even see it in some of these episodes too. Is some of the smack talk they do with each other, like Jalen Johnson and Allen. It's like that's in good spirit. Like you love to see guys go at each other. But from the Bengals side of things, when you saw the practice, and what did you think about that? Because there was a lot of Bengals reporters talking about that Caleb looked really good and all that. The Bears played really well against Burrow and all that stuff. What did you think about the Bears taking on the Bengals in practice?
Yeah, it's the guy from Channel 19, or Fox 19 in Cincy did the one that kind of went viral, especially amongst Bear fans. And I mean, he's got nothing to gain, talking about Caleb the way he did, and he just said Caleb won the day. He's and again, we knew he's talented. That was never in question, and the fact that he's getting it, and when he's playing against this Bears defense and all the smack talk and all the the talent that they have, you're not going to play against very many teams who have a defense better than ours. Aren't you not? All right. And I mean, the Ravens might be up there. I mean, really, who else would be up there that you could say, yeah, you're right. Maybe us and the Ravens, and so you got this every single day. So when you go and you play against another team and their defense isn't as difficult to play, it isn't as tough as the team you play every day, man, it's going to be like taking candy from a baby. And the situation is good. It's great for Caleb. It's great for this offense. And the one thing I just hope that they don't get too confident, too arrogant, or overconfident and cocky. Just stick to the program. Keep your head down. Enjoy the process. Live in the process, and the results will take care of themselves. I love the fact that the defense picked off Joe Burrow 3 times. All right. I love the fact that he hit all 3 receivers. Moore, Allen, and Adunze for touchdowns again in the drill and during the day. I love it, and it just goes to show that that maybe Caleb might get this thing sooner than later.
Yeah, and talking about Caleb, that clip that went viral too is him talking about his nerves. We'll take a look at that in a second, but you love to see the confidence and the way he goes into games and the way how comfortable he is, because I think that's super important, especially for a guy who's a rookie coming in and look, they bring it up all the time is the thin line between the thin line, at least how people perceive it, a thin line between cocky and confident. And it's just like he said it on Part of My Take, the Barstool podcast, is like it's about knowing himself and knowing what he can do and all that. And it's super important. But let's take a look at that clip just to see what he said right before the game against the Bengals.
Where your nervous energy gets to, like, scale of 1 to 10?
0. I don't get nervous. Not since my first game of high school versus Gilman. I fumbled 2 snaps. Other than that, and I came back and threw like out and up down the sideline. Other than that, play ball.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's what you love to see, that type of banter with each other, on the sidelines and stuff like that. So that was cool to see. What did you think about that? And kind of like him talking about, I don't know if did you get a chance to watch that interview with Part of My Take by any chance? Because I think it's a good one, because you really do get to know him real personal there.
No, I didn't get to see that Barstool one. I didn't see that yet. So But I love his confidence, and when you're good, it's funny. Like a lot of people, sometimes people don't get nervous. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I got nervous in games. I just needed to get that first hit out of the way, and then I was good. But I don't know if it was nervousness or not. I know that's how a lot of players are. Like, let me just get that first hit, and then it's all it's on from there. But I think Caleb's got a great head on his shoulders. Let's not forget he was a pro, man. He's the NIL money he had and the expectations. I mean, you're USC's quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner. There's a lot of pressure that comes on. There's a lot of questions. LA is not a small market, second largest market in the country, and so when you're the man out there, yeah, they're gonna. So I love his demeanor. I love his approach. He just seems like a calm, cool, collected dude, man, and that's what we need at the quarterback position. And obviously extremely talented. So I like the fact that he doesn't get nervous. It's just another football game to him, and that's dope. That's dope.
Yeah, and man, he's already coming up with like these, these sayings that he's gonna say after the games, and obviously when the Bears won, he broke them out by saying, through thick and thin, Bears win. I think, and it's just, it's all checking out. But yeah, like we always say, at the end of the day, if you just got to do it in the regular season against the biggest teams, especially against the division rival. So we'll see what happens there. But last thing we'll talk about today is we want to look ahead a little bit to tonight's matchup, which is the Bears taking on the Chiefs on prime time. Obviously, like we said, no starters playing on either side. But what is there someone you want to see something from tonight, Shawn? Like, is there maybe like a guy that trying to make the team, or it's a guy that hasn't gotten a lot of reps, or is there going to be more? Because I mean, I know when Montez Sweat was talking in the press conference, they were asking, oh, like, are you going to play? Like, are you going to get some reps and all that stuff? And obviously, they're always kind of like, they keep it on the down low anyways. But is there any starter maybe that might get a couple reps, like from the defensive side, that you want to see or anything like that against the Chiefs tonight?
Austin Booker. I don't know if he's a starter. It'll probably still be DeMarcus Walker, but I want to see Austin Booker get some more time. I want to see Reddy Stewart, the cornerback, get some more time. But he's a ball hawk. His name's Reddick, but it's Reddy Stewart. I like this young man. Big time. I like to see those two. And who else I'd like to see get some time and actually be productive is Noah Sewell. I know Sewell was hampered by injuries last year, and he's kind of gotten lost in the fray, because you got the two starters, Edmonds and Edwards, and then Jack Sanborn. I really would like, and then the linebackers who had interceptions. You got the release the Baskervilles. Baskerville had one, and then I don't even want to try and pronounce the name, but the African name, the guy who had the pick. Yeah, him.
Yeah. I know. I was having trouble too. I'm like, oh my.
Big O. He had a pick. I'd like to see Noah Sewell, because Noah Sewell is the year before he came out, man, he was a monster at Oregon, and then he got caught in a system change, and they asked him to do different things, and he wasn't as comfortable as was the year before. So, those on defense, those are the guys that I really would like to see get some time and get some and make something happen for themselves. I hope they stick around.
Yeah, exactly. It's one more game, and then after that they'll get ready for Tennessee. But you do want to see some guys kind of have some forward momentum if they're able to play, especially if it's a starter, especially if it's a guy like Booker, because you mentioned it's probably gonna be DeMarcus Walker starting, but you never know by midseason, especially with injuries and all that stuff. Like, you never know where Austin Booker is gonna find himself, and he's looked really good. So hopefully that happens. And you know what? Even without any starters, as you mentioned, Shawn, you're fired up tonight. It's Bears football Thursday night, and we're getting that much closer to the regular season, and we're gonna be talking about regular season all week long, all month long, all year long.
Next 2 weeks.
Yep, exactly, dude. It's getting chillier. The weather's getting chillier. Like, you feel it. Football's in the air, and we got you covered on all sides of the ball. Of course, with Shawn and Maya. Check out all their stuff on War Media as well. Check out more Bears Den. We got the At Bat podcast, all that type of stuff. So I think that'll do it for this edition of the Bears Den. Thanks everyone for watching. Of course, as always, like I said, check out all other content in sports. So Chicago, you got Second City Sports with Sean, with Lakina and Sid. Check out our War Media podcast as well with Slam Society and all that. So for Saul Rodriguez and Shawn Sierra, we hope you guys enjoy tonight's game against the Chiefs, and we'll see you next week. We got another episode of Hard Knocks to talk about as well. So we'll get things going, and you guys have a good one and take it easy.